Hey guys, it's Skybird, and we've got a knockoff review today. I want to show that off here, but before I do, this is actually kind of a special video. It's a sort of battle of the brands vocal video, at least, because I'm actually going to be talking about my preference between two knockoff Lego brands. Both of these are from the experience of just one set. I only own one set from each of these brands, but they're very popular brands on AliExpress, where I picked these two sets up, those brands being Sembo and Sluban. So I'll talk more about those towards the end of the video, but let's go ahead and focus on this right here. If you enjoyed this content, by the way, be sure to subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to see content like this, where I go over knockoff Lego sets, then check out the Patreon. That's actually how I am able to get these sets in the first place. That's linked in the description. And now, without further ado, if I had to ask you a question, what color is this set? When I saw this, I thought, okay, this is lime green. It looks lime green. So imagine my shock when I pull it out of the mail and it is actually olive green. Now, that actually kind of makes sense for the source material of this vehicle, but it's a little weird, and I hate to say a bit discouraging, if only because deceptive marketing, not my favorite thing. But pushing that aside for a moment, I'm not going to fault the vehicle itself for its color. It didn't choose it, right? That said, the olive green here is actually really good. It is a pretty much perfect match for Legos, so I'm not going to complain too much about that. I would like the lime green for other more greedy reasons, let's say, selfish reasons. That said, though, the vehicle itself is actually pretty interesting. There are two things you want to note whenever you're looking for knockoff Legos. You might want to look for specialized or proprietary pieces. These are similar, but not exactly the same, at least not from my definition. Proprietary pieces being something like these here, these sort of inverted brackets, not tiles. These are not the same thickness as a tile. They're actually a half a plate thick. That becomes a problem later. I'll talk about it in a moment, but they are pieces that I could potentially see Lego making in the future, right? Both sets, I should mention, also include pieces like these, so we'll get past that. Specialized pieces, though, that's where things get a little more interesting, because these are pieces that Lego really doesn't make and probably would never make, or at least maybe not today. 5-10 years down the road or in the past, sure, maybe. A piece like this, for example, this roof piece. This I could actually kind of see from Lego because it's got a shield-like shape, you know, on a specialized mech or something. Something like this is not completely out of the question. However, what is out of the question, for me anyway, is this wing right here. A single piece, which is also kind of obnoxious in its overall size and shape, and trying to get it on and off the vehicle. I already dropped the piece on the floor. As you can tell, it's not the most fun. This right here, though, is the wing, and it is kind of weird. I'm gonna be honest. It's got 4 anti-studs on it, so not ideal when it comes to trying to actually like build with. Like, if you wanted to use this from Lego, oh, what are you gonna do with it? You know. That said, though, it also has printing on it. That is printing, not stickers, not decals. We'll get to that in a moment. Printing on the sides here, and printing on those red lights on the back as well. A little hard to see on camera. And I also had to pick up the piece, so that's why I stretched out that segment for a moment. That said, though, it is interesting what it does for the vehicle itself. Like, obviously, it's a very iconic wing for this vehicle specifically, and I think you could use it for other things, but trying to incorporate that into a build can be a lot more difficult. So, talking about the vehicle itself, it's a Speed Champions car, essentially. So it needs to do a couple of things. A, it needs to seat a minifigure. So does it? No. This does not seat a minifigure. There's room in there. It almost looks like it should be able to. There's even a bit of a recess for your character to sit down inside of. But no, it's not even close. The character's head sits way too high for this roof here specifically. So yeah, you'd have to do a lot of modification either to this or take the minifigure's legs off. At that point, then yeah, you could probably fit a minifigure in there, and I think you'd be fine to do it. Lean the character back if you're able to. The current build does not really allow for that, but modifying it might work. Overall, kind of interesting. When it comes to Speed Champions, some other things I look for are usually some kind of side build. This does not have anything like that, but it's a knockoff. It's not trying to be exactly the same, and I get it. I'm not going to knock the set for that either, and the price was good. This was about $7, so, like, I'm not complaining. Third, the thing I want to talk about next, stickers. This set has a plethora of them, but they're not actually stickers, they're decals. And that's a good and a bad thing, I guess. If you're somebody that likes decals, then you might enjoy it. However, I don't like them here specifically, or maybe from this brand in general, if only because the size, the tolerance is kind of off. you know, in some cases you've got some decals that are small, like you'd expect from Lego. Then you've got some that are like exactly the same size or even slightly bigger than what you're applying them to. And that can become a problem, especially because they're very thin and very fragile. If you scratch that with another piece, just like throwing it aside in a build or something, like you're going to scuff it. And in fact, I have scratched it a few times, and I just built this. I've already treated it very carefully, but that has already happened. So it's worth noting. It's also worth noting too that on par with a Speed Champions build, it's not quite up to snuff. It's not quite as thorough a build as a Speed Champions car would be. So you could definitely tell it is a knockoff. There are some really clever choices made in the build. It's definitely an experience. But you know, most of the time when you get some like wonky angles or some weird things going on, it's not a segment of the build that lasts very long. And yeah, not to the degree of Lego or the quality or attention to detail of Lego either. So overall, I think the vehicle itself does look good. But if you're looking for a Speed Champion equivalent building experience, this is a little lower than that. But again, for the price, not going to complain. It's still a good building experience. I'm going to move on from the car now for a moment because I wanted to talk very briefly about the instructions. As you can tell, it's a single sheet. It is a large single sheet. It's not ideal. It's also worth noting too that the instructions are also highlighting new pieces in red, which can become a problem when parts are dark, and that red can be a bit hard to tell. Comparing it directly against Laban now for the first time, you can see that this is definitely better, not only in the sense that it's a book, which is just generally easier when it comes to building, but also because new and old builds are very easily separated. Old builds are in that pale color, new stuff is all in color. So that's great. Both sets also include drum lacquered pieces. However, the drum lacquered pieces here are a little bit worse. Not bad by any means, definitely passable, and some of which are even good. I would definitely use them, notably these wheel pieces inside directly beneath those hubcaps there. Drum lacquer gold, they look great, but it is worth noting that some of them came with, you know, some frayed edges or scuffs and things like that, and that can be a bit of a bother, especially in comparison to the Slaban set. Both of these were packaged the same, both in bags in other bags, and the drum lacquering on the Slaban set had no scratches at all. Your mileage may vary with this. I can't speak to all sets from these brands. I can only speak to the ones that I've experienced, but also feeling the pieces. These feel high quality too. Feeling the pieces from the Sembo set, they still feel good, but they feel notably less textural when it comes to the drum lacquering and overall the pieces in general. So fit and finish. Compared to Lego, I expected both of these brands to be very good. They are. They're definitely better than like your dollar store Lego knockoffs, but those can still be pretty good too, and I've made videos on those as well. However, I will definitely say the fit and finish on both of these sets does leave a little bit to be desired. This one probably more slightly. There are some spots where you're trying to attach a piece and it doesn't feel like it's going to go in quite right. There's also some spots where the car kind of feels like if I twist it a little weird, that could of course just be the build itself. But some parts feel like they sort of come off too easily or go on too easily. It's not awful. And this set really mostly lacks axles, so I can't do a direct comparison against Technic stuff specifically here. But, you know, it leaves a little bit to be desired. That is also true for the Sembo set. But for the Sembo set specifically, it's nearly entirely the Technic pieces from that set. Not all of them, of course. But, you know, this axle, which came from that set, is in blue. Great color, too. Fits great with Lego. But against the Sembo set, there's some spots where it's like really tight. So the axle holes in that set leave a bit to be desired. Moving on to the next piece. You'll see this piece right here. I did not classify it as proprietary or specialized, even though this is in fact a piece that Lego does not make. Not in this color, but not in this shape either. However, it's in the same family of parts that Lego has made in the past. These are discontinued classic panels. You can call them whatever you want. There are various different shapes and sizes, all denoted with a number of some kind. These don't have the number, unfortunately. They have a number, but it doesn't ascribe to anything. However, the size here and the shape, for that matter, do not exist from Lego. This is 7 long by 2 wide, and you get a left and right pairing. This is so good. As somebody who loves classic panels, classic Lego, classic Rahi, classic Technic aesthetic, These are incredible pieces to have, especially now since Lego has made the Lego Technic Defender in olive green, which this matches. It's worth noting it does not have a regular like hose hole or accessory hole of any kind in the set like these did, but it does still have a single pin hole with very good friction, thankfully. So connecting it to a Lego pin, you're not going to have any issues with the piece spinning. That's great to see. I would also maybe consider putting it up against one of those like toilet paper roll Technic pieces that recently came out. I just didn't grab one for the video. So my thoughts. Overall, both of these sets are fantastic, both around the $7 mark, at least from when I bought them. The Slabon set was a welcome deal, so I don't imagine you can get it for that price anymore, but this set was $7 all day long. That's good. I think you'll have a good building experience with both of them. I think you will be happy with both of them for that price. If you're somebody that likes Technic and Bionicle stuff more, you're definitely going to like the Slabon one better. If you're somebody that likes system stuff more, you'll like both sets. I think the Slabon set has a lot more interesting system pieces, and the tolerance there is a bit better as well. But both of them are respectable. Overall, my preference is Slabon. The only thing worth noting here is that where this set does actually have some mixel joints in there, in fact, that's a fantastic piece that Lego should make. It is a mixel socket on an axle. Fantastic. The Slabon set does not use mixel sockets. It uses a proprietary size that Lego does not make. So that's unfortunate. And it's also worth noting too, this set contains no dark gray on it at all. So I cannot tell you what color their dark gray is from Sembo, but from Slabon, I can tell you it's very dark gray, which I like. Obviously, I've already talked about that color in the past. I've made a whole video on it by itself. It is a good color, but it is a color Lego does not make. So you've got to kind of, your mileage may vary again. Okay, so that's basically it for this one. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like this type of content, one more time, I definitely suggest you check out the Patreon. It's also worth noting too, I also have commissions open as well for art. So if you want to learn about where you can do or get some of that, check out the Discord link down in the description below. You can just DM me there and ask your questions. It is pay what you want. That stuff goes towards, you know, bills like electric and stuff, but Patreon is going towards knockoffs and equipment for making those videos a little more presentable, let's say. All right, so that's it. I will see you all in the next one. Take care.